we're from Drake Library.
I'm Naomi.
I'm Mez.
And I'm Via.
And we're going to be having library time, and I hope you guys enjoy the books.
Enjoy the books.
Can't wait to see you guys all this summer.
Yay!
Hello everyone, it's Via again, and today I have a story for you. I believe our theme for today is music. So I've decided to share with you. You need to allow me to share my screen. So I've decided to share with you a book called The Bear and the Piano by David Litchfield. Let's see if we can get started with the story right off the bat. Okay. It's a pretty inside cover. Bear and the Piano. One day in the forest, a young bear cub found something he'd never seen before. What could this strange thing be? He thought. Shyly, he touched it with his stubby paws. Plonk. The strange thing made an awful sound. So the bear left. But the next day he came back, and the day after that too. And for days and weeks and months and years, until eventually the sounds that came from the strange thing were beautiful, and the bear had grown big and strong and grisly. When the bear played, he felt so happy. The sounds took him away from the forest, and he dreamed of strange and wonderful lands. It wasn't long before the other bears in the forest were drawn to the clearing. Every night, a crowd gathered to listen to the magical melodies coming from the bear and the strange thing. Then, one night, a girl and her father came across the clearing. They told the bear that the strange thing was a piano, and the sound it made was music. Come to the city with us, they said. There is lots of music there. You can play grand pianos in front of hundreds of people and hear sounds so beautiful that they will make your fur stand on end. The bear knew that if he left the forest, the other bears would be very sad. But he longed to explore the world beyond the woods, and to hear more wonderful music, and to play bigger and better than before. And before long, the bear's name was up in big bright lights in the big bright city. Looks like there he is, inside the spotlight kind of area. He played sold-out concerts in giant theaters. Every night he performed with such passion and such grace to wild applause and standing ovations and huge admiration. The bear recorded albums that went to platinum. He was interviewed for magazines. He won awards. He met new people every day and created headlines everywhere he went. The city was everything he had hoped it would be, but deep down something tugged at the bear's heart. He had fame and awards and all the music in the world, but he missed the forest. He missed his old friends. He missed his home. So the bear decided to go back. He speedily crossed the river and excitedly pounded into the forest. He couldn't wait to tell his friends about his time in the city. But when the bear reached the familiar clearing, it was empty. No piano, no bears, no anything. The bear started to worry that his friends had forgotten him, or that they were angry that he had left them behind. Then a friend stepped into the clearing. "Hello," cried the bear. "I'm back. I've missed you so much." Without saying a word, the gray bear ran back into the trees. "Wait," called the bear. "I'm sorry I left. Please stop." But his friends just kept running. The bear stumbled after him, moving deeper and deeper into the forest, until he saw something that made his fur stand on end. Ooh, that's very pretty. It looks like it's got some of his albums, magazines, newspaper clippings, and his old piano. For the bear had not been forgotten. His friends weren't angry, but proud. The bear realized that no matter where he went or what he did, they would always be there, watching from afar. They had even kept the piano safe in the shade, ready for his return. So after the bear had told his friends about his life in the city and the many concerts that he played, he sat down to play once more, this time for the most important audience of all. And that's, I believe, the end of the book. Yep, there we go. Let's see if I can stop sharing. And I hope you guys enjoyed that story. That was Bear and the Piano.
Hey everybody, I'm going to be reading a story called Ada's Violin today. Ada's Violin by Susan Hood. Ada Rios grew up in a town made of trash. Every morning at dawn, Ada heard the first garbage trucks rumble and roll down the road to Catura. Beep, beep, beep. Backing into the landfill, they tipped their loads up and crash. The trash came tumbling down, 1,500 tons each day. Ada and her friends watched as the gancheros, recyclers, scrambled, tearing into plastic bags with long-handled hooks, pushing aside moldy produce and grabbing anything they could recycle or sell. The going rates, 5 cents for a pound of cardboard, 10 cents for a pound of plastic. This noisy, stinking, sweltering slum was not the most nurturing neighborhood. Ada watched, eyes wide, but she didn't say much. And yet she liked to imagine each garbage truck was a box of surprises. One never knew what might be inside. Her father had found appliances, toys, perfumes, and antique watches. One woman even discovered a small box full of gold jewelry. Little did Ada know there was a bigger surprise waiting for her in the landfill. Every day when Ada's parents went to work, Grandmother Miriam cared for Ada and her little sister Noela. Grandma loved to sing rock and roll songs from the 1960s. The girls grew up to the tunes of the Beatles, Simon and Garfunkel, and Creedence Clearwater Revival. Ada loved to sing too, but only when no one was listening. Ada's dad brightened the night with stories and songs of great musicians. He turned up the radio and pointed out the sounds each instrument made. Ada heard one above all the others. Zing went the strings of the violin. When the girls started school, Grandma returned to work as a recycler, collecting bottles and cans in the city. Classes let out at noon. Young Ada was in charge of Noela until her parents were done with work. At first, the girls stayed close to home, playing with Grandma Miriam's doggies and making sand cakes in the dirt. Soon, they joined their cousins playing hide-and-seek or a game of handball in the streets. In time, they ventured farther afield, walking down to the bodega to get candy. But Ada noticed the teenagers hanging out in the alleys, grumbling about life in the landfill looming ahead. What would happen to them, to her little sister? She watched as the older kids turned to gangs and got into fights. One day, when Ada was 11 years old, her grandmother saw a sign posted on the wall of the chapel. Violin, guitar, cello, taught Saturdays at 8 a.m. Fabio Chavez. How Grandma had longed to learn music. Too late for her, maybe, she thought, but not for her granddaughters. She signed them up without even asking, or their parents. Ada's heart sang out. Thanks to her abuela, she could leave her worries behind and learn to play. At the first class, the teacher, Fabio Chavez, had 3 guitars and 2 violins to share. Ada chose a violin right away, but the 10 children had signed up. Frustrated, Ada and her friends found that there were not enough instruments to go around. And there was a bigger problem. Everyone quickly realized that the children would need to practice at home. But it wasn't safe to be seen with an expensive instrument in Catura where a violin is worth more than a house. Watching the children play amid broken glass and rusty metal, Senor Chavez knew he had to do something. He remembered a band called the Les Luthiers that made its own instruments. That was it. He asked Nicolas Cola Gomez, a ganchero and carpenter, for help. Senor Gomez found a discarded drum with a big hole in it. What would he use to fix it? He picked through the trash and discovered an old X-ray film. Would that work? It did. Senor Gomez kept experimenting with others, like Tito Romero helping. Inventing instruments wasn't easy, but they fiddled around, discovering which materials hit just the right notes. They transformed oil drums into cellos, water pipes into flutes, and packing crates into guitars. Soon there was enough instruments for all the children who wanted to play. Ada chose a violin made from an old paint can, an aluminum baking tray, a fork, and pieces of wooden crates. worthless to thieves, but invaluable to her. It was a violin of her very own. At first, Ada and the others struggled. Sharps and flats clanged and clashed. Playing an instrument is a process. It doesn't matter if one is rich or poor, ugly, fat, thin. You cannot learn to play an instrument overnight, Senor Chavez told the children. Some kids decided it was too much work and gave up, but not Ada. After lessons, she would practice at home, sometimes 2 hours a day. In time, the screeches, twangs, and tweets hit all the right notes. Their class became a small island where Chavez taught them to respect themselves and one another. Be kind. Always say please and thank you. Say you're sorry. Be dedicated when you commit to something, Senor Chavez told the children. Soon the ragtag crew of kids learned to tune in, to listen to one another, and to band together. The recycled orchestra was born. From then on, there was something new in the air in Catura. Gancheros trudging home from the landfill might lift their heads to hear the sounds of Ada's violin, or the strains of Bebi's cello, or the strum of Nuela's guitar. A symphony of sound helped to lift them beyond the heat, the stench, and their aching backs. With her violin, Ada could close her eyes and imagine a different life. She could soar on the high, bright, bittersweet notes to a place far away. She could be who she was meant to be. As Ada's skill grew, so did her confidence. Once timid, she now took a center stage playing solo. She helped teach the younger children too. Her teachers and fellow students took note. When she was 12 years old, Ada was named a first violinist. Imagine, she was first at something. Shortly after, she and her 39 fellow musicians were invited to perform concerts in Catura and later in the nearby capital city of Asunción. Word of this extraordinary orchestra spread. Soon they were asked to perform in other cities and even other countries. Ada and her friends flew on their first airplane, stayed in their first hotel, swam in the bright blue waters of Rio de Janeiro, sampled their first pastries and pineapple, and saw sights they never imagined. The world dazzled them, just as they dazzled the world. And when Ada was 16, the orchestra received a very special invitation. They were asked to tour with a world-famous rock band. More than 35,000 people awaited them at their first concert stop in Bottega, Colombia. Ada was more than nervous. She didn't know how to enter or how to greet the audience. She went blank. She saw a giant stage with glaring lights and heard people screaming. But she didn't have to worry. As the recycled orchestra took the stage, the people who had paid to see the rock band cheered for them. The enormous audience sang and swayed to the music as the orchestra played and as the performance came to a close. A crescendo of cheers, chants, and applause resounded across the park. The astonished kids bowed, grinning at one another. They had discovered the surprise waiting in the landfill. Buried in the trash was music, and buried in themselves was something to be proud of. The end. See y'all next time.
This book is called I Got the Rhythm. I got the rhythm. I thought of a rhythm in my mind. Think, think. I heard the rhythm with my ears. Beat, beat. I looked at the rhythm with my eyes. Blink, blink. I smelled the rhythm with my nose. Sniff, sniff. I sang the rhythm with my mouth. Ooh la la. I caught the rhythm with my hands. Clap, clap. I kept the rhythm with my fingers. Snap, snap. I shook a rhythm with my hips. Shake, shake. I felt the rhythm with my knees. Knock, knock. I walked the rhythm with my feet. Stomp, stomp. I tapped the rhythm with my toes. Tip, tap. I danced to the rhythm of a drum. Beat, bop. I clapped and snapped. I tipped and tapped. I popped and locked. I hipped and hopped. Beat, bop, Bing, bang, boom, boom, boom. Boombox, beat bop, kaboom, kaboom. I got the rhythm and you can too. The end.
Thank you for watching Storytime.
We hope you guys enjoyed the books.
And we hope to see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.